Ding. All right. So Lucas and I were just talking about how incredible it is, amazing it is that people get sober, that people just get sober. And what were we saying about that, Lucas? You kind of kicked the conversation off. And what was your like main standpoint on that?
Yeah, I was thinking about it of just like for the individual to get sober. Like I know that there are people out there that enough is enough and they're sick and tired of being sick and tired and they're like, I need help, and they reach out. I know that happens. But I would say of the people that I meet, like in recovery, most had some kind of boundary held with them, some kind of tough consequence, like something that like pushed them into recovery rather than themselves really just kind of wanting it. So it's crazy that they get sober because normally people don't want to get sober and they have to do a bunch of stuff to get sober. I have to like give up this thing that I've kind of put all my eggs in that basket. I got to go to treatment, go to sober living, go to IOP, go to therapy, go to meetings, some combination of all those things, or maybe all those things. And it's a huge thing. But then that's not the part that's crazy, because that part is like, well, everyone knows, if you like know treatment and recovery and stuff like that, it's a big deal and it's hard to do and all that. But like, it's amazing to me because then their loved ones have to do all this stuff that they don't want to do. Like, who wants to tell their husband, hey, if you don't get sober, like you're not going to be a part of this family anymore, because I like can't trust you to be around the kids, and you're not being the dad that they deserve or the husband that I married, and I still believe that person's there and I want them back into the picture, but that's not you right now, and you need to get help, like, and then knowing that the husband might be like, well, then I'm leaving, and then it ends in like a divorce or them moving out of the house and not doing that. It's just like, or a parent doing that to their kids, or a kid doing that to their parents. Like, nobody wants to hold those kind of boundaries. That is just such a hard thing to do. And then not only in the moment, but then how many times do we hear about, the guy who goes to treatment and they did all that stuff and they did it all right to get him to go to treatment. And then in treatment, like 3 weeks in, they call and they're like, this place is bullshit. It's a prison on planet bullshit. I got to get out of here. It's messed up, whatever. And then they cave, because it's like, you don't just have to do all that hard stuff on the front end. You got to do it like potentially every day for the next like 3 months, 6 months, 9 months of like, yeah, I'm still serious. I'm still holding these boundaries. You're still going to do this. So it's just like, I was thinking about it with all that combined. I was like, it is a miracle that anyone ever gets sober, because it involves a whole group of people. Normally, it could just be two, but normally like a little group, all doing stuff they really, really don't want to do consistently for a long period of time. And like, if you're a betting man, odds are not strong that that's going to work out.
Yeah. When I feel like when people come to me to talk through like a son that's struggling or a friend that's struggling, like it's all fine when we're talking about the person that's struggling. But the minute I bring up, okay, let's look at what the family needs to do. I mean, you can physically watch them like squirm, like move around in their seat. Like, wait, I want to talk about the other person.
Exactly.
It's a family thing. And it's like, no, we need to, like, there's a reason that this person is using the way that they are, even if you didn't cause it, to a degree of like, go to the liquor store and buy the thing for them, or go to the drug dealer and buy the thing for them. There's something that you're doing in their life that's enabling the behavior. That's like allowing them to do this in your presence or in your home, or and I feel like that's a mixed message that a lot of people can get when they're getting into like recovery journeys as a family unit of like, and I just feel like I've heard this a lot of like, oh, you didn't cause it. Like, there's a lot of messaging that you can take as like, yeah, you didn't create it, you didn't cause it. What's the third? There's a third one.
And you can't change it.
And you can't change it. So that message to me tells me, if I'm the family member, then like, oh, good deal. It's on them. Let them figure their shit out.
We know that there's so many things, and really anything, but I think there's a ton of stuff like that in recovery where there's like sayings or ideas that can just be twisted. Because like how many often have we seen like the addict alcoholic in question that like, here's some like good recovery stuff, totally twist it to do some messed up thing in their life that they shouldn't be doing. And it's like, hey, acceptance. And you're like, no, that's not acceptance. Like, that's like something you need to actually go change that you do have control over and you can change. And they're like, nah, man, I'm just, what's like the, living in God's will, or like whatever like these little sayings might be. And I feel like it's the same thing for parents, where like the one that I see a lot is they'll say, they're like, well, I can't control them. Like I just gotta let go and whatever. And I find that they conveniently will do that with like the biggest things, like in their life, of like them not getting a sponsor, or whether or not they're going to stay in sober living or whatever. And then they jump back into control mode for like what dentist they're going to go to, how their haircut is, like all these things like that, where they're like, I mean, he just needs to get this haircut. So it's kind of like, it just becomes an excuse of like, I just want to control the things I want to control. And then when it's like tough boundaries to hold, which we kind of talked about, like getting them to go to treatment, doing an intervention, whatever, it's like, well, they got to want it, and they got to want it. And it's really up to them. And I just got to stay out the way. And it's like, all right, then fully stay out the way all the time and get your butt in Al-Anon, to like deal with that, whatever. So I just find that anything can, and it's just human nature. I'm not like picking on, I've done it in recovery. I've done it for people I love in recovery. Like everyone can do it. It's just being aware of those blind spots. And like you said, that, yeah, it's not, yeah, we love talking about the addict alcoholic. And I just had this happen in my life where we're like talking about that in my personal life. And then it's like, all right, now let's talk about you and what you could do different. And it's like, no, I want to talk about him. I want to talk about him. I don't want to talk about me. He just needs to get it together. I'm not doing anything. And it's like you by nature have to be doing something, because I feel like you very rarely do you see an addict alcoholic who is just in a vacuum doing their own thing and they affect no one in any way. There's no way anyone could hold a boundary towards them or give them a consequence or anything. It's just like without fail, I look around and I find at least one permissive, avoidant person who has been just kind of like allowing this stuff to continue to go on and either looking the other way and talking about acceptance, or even like covering it up, and like helping them like cover it up and get away with it.
Yeah. Something unrelated really quick. Is your camera in a different spot than normal?
Slightly.
Okay. Because you keep like turning your head and your hat is blocking one of your eyes.
Oh no.
And one eye is showing in a lot of your.
Not again.
You're like turning this way, doing that. But so just to break it down into some more specifics, or getting a little more specific with it. One thing that I see a lot of, and then this can be like a lot of unhealthy behavior with a family, is sometimes it's like a family needs to change what they're providing a person. And we see it a lot in the age group that we work with, of like, okay, now you need to stop paying for car insurance or the cell phone bill, and to some people are like, oh, that's great. I would love for my child to pay their own cell phone bill or their own car insurance. But for some families, it's, what's the word I'm looking for? But it's like you're taking away their version of love almost, or it's like, no, but like, then my son may not need me. And I feel like they're scared to go to that place. Well, if they get fully independent and they don't need me anymore, that's scary for me as a parent. And that's where it comes in handy of like, everyone's going to therapy. The family's going to therapy. The person in recovery is going to therapy. And as things are changing, as relationships are changing, everyone's figuring out their why, like why they're feeling the feelings that they are. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, tons of sense. I think that it's just another example of like, nobody wants to make this change. Like that'd be one that we bring up of like, hey, on the road to independence, we want to keep like stacking these things up for them so that when they leave GT, they're like a fully independent adult. They pay their own car insurance, health insurance, car payment, rent, and because they can, and they've got to at some point, right? Like you can't pay their car insurance forever. You can kind of catch people on that point of like, yeah, I guess It's like one day you're not going to be here. And if they have never paid their health insurance, I mean, I guess they'll figure it out. We hope, but let's just help them figure it out today. And they have the money, they can make it work, but maybe they just can't eat at Taco Bell as much or whatever the thing may be. So again, it's like a change that the parent, when I'm talking to them, they're like, but then they won't have health insurance and like all the kind of fear-based stuff. And then I go talk to the guy about it and they're like, this is just messed up. I'm doing all this recovery stuff. The least they could do is pay my health insurance. So again, it's something that like no one is on board for, but that you got to convince kind of the whole crew to want to do. And it's just really, it's tough to get people onto that, even when you're talking about like the long-term plan of like, hey, don't you want to be fully independent? And part of them's like, yes, but the other part of them's like, no. And then for the parent, it's like, don't you want them to be fully independent? And it's like, but then when would they be dependent on me? When would they need me?
Yeah.
So
then what is my part that I play in their life?
Yes. If they're so independent, they could just write me off. And right now I'm scared that like they only love me and have me around because there's some things I can provide them. And that's like my way into their life and their world. But also we're talking about a very sick and unhealthy person that, yeah, they largely don't want you in their world because you're just a nuisance and going to get on them about drugs and alcohol and whatever. So it's just like, pay my health insurance and get out of my life. But if we get them healthy, they probably do want you in their life more, you know, to like, hey, I just want to know how you're doing, mom, and what's going on. So it's like, but everyone just has to take this leap of faith that is what it's going to be like. And then who's there to like, you know, it's just like me or you on the phone, some guy they don't know. Largely, you know, like even if they've been with us for 6-7 months, like, I'm going to put all my eggs in this basket. The result could be that my son never needs me again, therefore never talks to me again. Like, what a big thing to put on the table to risk. I get why people are resistant or hesitant.
Yeah. Another big pressure point I see is when a family starts to realize that they may have to change their personal habits with alcohol or drugs, where it's like, okay, my son's getting clean. What is Christmas going to look like now? Because I used to love like chugging eggnog, or we used to have coolers around the house full of beer for when our extended family comes over. Everyone could just drink openly. Like maybe that needs to change. And that's another point when I can feel the squirm almost of a family like, okay, well, what is this going to look like from now on? Like, can I not, the dad's, you know, saying like, can I not drink anymore when we go to dinner? And should I not order some wine for my wife? And it's like,
Well,
yeah, maybe not for a while.
well, it starts to highlight everyone else's problems.
Mhm.
And not that they have some like hardcore drinking problem, but if you can't go without what you say is just one beer at dinner for like supporting your son or your daughter or your husband, your wife, or whoever who's in early recovery, like what does that say about you? And I think people just don't want to go there. Which you'd think it's like, all right, then it'd be way easier to just not have the beer and not have to go there. Because it's like the fight about the beer is what kind of like lets everyone know, like, dang, do you have a problem like on some level too? That, you know, you like are like going to war with family about like, I should be able to have my one beer. Just because he's in recovery doesn't mean I can't have one beer. It's like, yikes, dude, we're getting that emotional about one beer. That's that could be an issue.
Yeah. Do you ever feel that because of like your role and you being sober and you working in the industry, that when you get around certain people, or maybe you just wonder of like, oh, I wonder what this conversation or this hangout sesh would feel like if I weren't here, if it's around a bunch of people who normally drink and go to the football games or watch football games all Saturday afternoon, drinking beer, talking about the parties and the tailgating that they went to, or no?
Yeah, I think I make people uncomfortable.
Yeah. I always worry about that. I'm like, oh, then David shows up and we need to switch our conversation. Or
Yeah, I just think that I think that I'm not like normally I'm not like doing anything or saying anything. But I know like people, I mean, it's funny, there's two people in like my personal family life that really like don't want a relationship with me. just very surface level, and it could be for 100 other reasons. But my suspicion is the common thread is that I think both of them have problems with alcohol and drugs. One like very confirmed, the other one pretty confirmed. Um, but yeah, I think just like me being me, it's just like conversations could lead into that. Not that I'm gonna be like, well, have you ever thought might have a drink? It like that? So like kind of inappropriate to like bring up. If someone opens the door, maybe I'll go there, but I'm not just gonna be like bringing that up.
Yeah.
You can kind of tell that's the fear in their head of like, how long can I talk to this guy before like my big problem that I'm like very focused on like not talking about, but that means I'm very focused on it is gonna like just kind of slip out, and then this guy's gonna pounce on it and like tell me I need to go to treatment today or something. Like I can just kind of see that, and then here's the better one, talking about like the intro, like the full family. Both of those people's loved ones don't ever want to talk to me about like addiction recovery stuff as it relates to those two people. And that's interesting too, because it's like if you had someone in your family, close member of your family, that was addicted to drugs and alcohol for 10 years, sober for 10 years, and 8 of those 10 years worked as a professional in that world, why would that not be the first person you would talk to? And I compared it the other day to like if I woke up and my roof was messed up and I had a brother, a son, a nephew, a niece, whatever, who was a roofer with 8 years experience, you can best believe that that guy's going to be the first call I make of like, I have a family member that's a roofer and I have a hole in my roof. I'm calling that guy to be like, dude, what should I do? Can you do it? Can you recommend a good company? Like whatever. And so it's funny when someone avoids you in that way. That again, it's just kind of like, I think the same fear is there of like, I might bring a solution to your life or suggest one that you're not really ready to hear because it's going to be so disruptive to your life. And you're going to have to think about, can we have beers at dinner on Christmas? What do I have to change? What am I going to have to sacrifice and do? What tough conversations am I going to have to do? Boundaries am I going to have to hold? And it's like, it'd be easier if I just bury my head in the sand. We just pretend like this doesn't exist and just move on.
Yeah. Gosh, it's I was thinking of so much to unpack there that I don't know where to begin. But it just speaks to the level of shame and guilt that surrounds addiction. Because the reason that the family member doesn't call the person with 8 years experience working in the field is what it may expose. Like, what is it going to shine a light on? I think that person is thinking like, well, where are they going to see my faults as a human being? I think we're very like, as humans, we tend to be selfish and we're always thinking of how people are going to bring our faults and to the surface and who's shining a light in those dark corners of our lives where maybe we went wrong as a parent, even though our son is having these issues. Yeah, I just think it's such a hard thing for so many people to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and if you talk about the problem with somebody who doesn't know the solution, you don't have to run the risk of getting fed any solutions or suggested any. But when you talk about the problem with somebody who like generally knows the solutions, and none of us know it perfectly, but we just kind of know like, hey, if you have this type of conversation, that's like the best way to get the ball moving forward. It doesn't mean it's going to go perfect, and it doesn't mean we might not have to readjust to something else. But like you just do it enough, you kind of know like the path that's most likely to get you towards like recovery for the family and the guy. And yeah, so you talk to that guy and it's like, I just know he's going to tell me I have to do some stuff that I really don't want to do and look at some things that I don't want to look at and talk about some stuff that I don't want to talk about. And that's where it's like, yeah, I'm just going to avoid them.
Yeah.
And their advice and whatever.
Yeah, I was talking to actually a family friend this morning about someone in their life who's struggling, and I get asked this question a lot from families. They're like, I mean, what needs to happen here? What are the big things that your programs would provide to someone who's struggling? And I like these top 3. I say time. They need time away from substances so that their brain can heal, the fog can clear, we can figure out where a baseline is. They need community. So they need to find other people around their age who are doing things that they're changing their life to, people that understand their struggles that they can go to, talk to about anything and everything. And the other one is, as you know, like filling up your pride tank or like experiencing some wins in life. And that also ties back into time. It takes time to experience wins and develop that sense of pride. Because everyone who comes to our program, for example, they're like depleted in those areas. They have no self worth. Um,
And they're predisposed to like single event, like pride tank fillers. So
yeah,
like they want it to be like, I went to the gym today and like that should fill my pride tank. And it's like that doesn't really work. Like that's fine, but that's gonna just fill it this much. But if you go to the gym every day for the next 90 days and then you look back and you say, I went to the gym every day for 90 days, that really fills it up.
yeah. Now we're moving the needle.
But they're so predisposed to like the instant gratification of drugs and alcohol. I don't like how I feel. Boom. I want to wake up. Boom. I want to go to bed. Boom. Like I just take this, I take that, whatever. That I feel like that's what they're looking for in life. I'm looking for this. I want a really nice job. Come on. I'll snap again. Make it happen. Do it. It's like,
Yeah.
it's not working. You're going to have to actually work at it. You're going to have to do 15 applications and 3 rejections and 5 interviews and not get what you want to get paid. And, you know, it's just like, that's the real life. But as addicts, alcoholics, we get so conditioned to that instant gratification and we expect it everywhere. Relationships, jobs, money, food, clothes, sex, gym, like everything that you would want in your life. You just want it like that. And it doesn't do them any favors that that's like the direction our society is headed to, right? Like used to be, I have to like call this place and place an order and then I got to go drive up there to get it. Now it's like Uber, boop, right online, gets delivered to me. Amazon, boop, right online, gets delivered to me. Like any song in like the history of mankind, Spotify, got them all. YouTube, like all those videos. Social media, I can see like a profile on almost any person in the world and get some idea of like what they look like, what they're about. In a lot of cases, what school they went to, are they single, married, whatever, some of their family. Like you get so much instant information today that it makes perfect sense that we'd be like primed towards that. Yeah, then you add the instant gratification of drugs and alcohol on top of it, and it's even more so.
Yeah, I was just trying to find a funny TikTok video that I'd seen of a little kid who's probably like 10 or 11 who's overweight, and he like does one workout and he comes back in the room and lifts his shirt and he's like, did my belly shrunk? And the sister's like, I don't think that's how it works.
Yeah.
He starts crying.
Dude, it's
Like
so
he
true.
doesn't even have drugs in his life, and he's already conditioned for that because of electronics and social media and all the things you just listed.
Well, and I think just as humans, we're conditioned for it. That's why drugs and alcohol like take hold of us.
Mm-hmm.
Like even just that one time where you're like, dude, that instantly made me feel so much better. Those are all the things as humans we get addicted to because there's something in our brains and our souls and our hearts, whatever, that just like really likes that. You know, it's like easy to slide down that slippery slope.
Yeah. Yeah, going back to the parents and like how they contribute or things that they may have to change. This is another confusing thing is when they have multiple kids and one kid is struggling with drugs and alcohol and one is not, and they're providing the same things to both kids. Like they're paying for both kids' vehicles or car insurance or cell phones or rent or having a roof over their head, but it's really hurting one of them, the one that's addicted to drugs and alcohol. It's like causing them to spiral because it's creating this extra money where you can get drugs or whatever. But one is doing fine with it and is continuing to thrive. And we've even seen this with twins, like identical twins have the same DNA that are being provided the same things. And one is like continuing to do well in life and using that to his benefit and, going to school, having good grades, all those things. And then one is the opposite, like spiraling. So I think that's tough as a family to try to figure out. Just another thing you have to figure out how to navigate of like, well, then is that fair? Because you're being told your whole life of like, you can't have favorites. You need to treat everyone equally.
Yeah, that one's really tough. And it's tough that like one thing would help one person and hurt another.
Mm-hmm.
That definitely makes it confusing because it's like one thing is love and one thing is not opposite of love. It's not like it's hate, but it's like hurt. It's like you're like ultimately hurting the situation by doing this thing that over here is like just clearly like love and support and compassion and like caring. And on this side, it's like codependency, enabling, hurting, and like negative. That's like hard to wrap your head around, that things could be different for different people. And especially in a world where I think, yeah, parenting wise, like you said, you want everything to be fair and equal and whatever. Because how much do you hear the common banter between siblings of like, mom loves you more, dad's always like you the most, oh, it must be nice to be mom's favorite, like, at least I don't think that my family is the only family that happens in. I feel like that comes up. Yeah, I feel like that comes up for a lot of people. So yeah, you're always trying to combat that of like, but just people need different things at different times. And some people need a lot and some people don't need as much. And some people are just kind of good to go of like, yeah, mom, like you can pay my rent, but I really don't need you to. So like, I'm good. But then that guy that like we work with, kind of more like addict alcoholic, it's like, no, you should pay my rent forever. I think you should pay more of my rent. Can you pay my car insurance and hell, they're like always just like asking for more and more and more. So it just does get confusing because you just got to kind of like navigate it. And it's not going to be as simple as just like even, fair, done.
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, dude, it's just so hard. I can't imagine being a parent. I mean, all I've heard is my mom struggle and like what she had to go through. I haven't been a parent doing this. But I've had a lot of experience working with families and parents through this. This is another side quest here, another interesting case, but we were just talking with a family, working with a family who was considering not doing another program and bringing their son back home and like treating their house as a sober living. And you made a phenomenal point there. I think you told the mom, you were like, look, there's a reason that we have a whole team of people that deal with this. And like you're about to bring your son home and you and your husband are going to act as that team.
Mm-hmm.
And this just speaks back to the topic of this podcast of like, it's amazing that anyone ever gets sober, and it's done with a village. Like you don't hear about people doing this. Yeah, you hear about people doing it without like some expensive, elaborate program. You hear about people just going to 12-step programs and getting it. But in every case, there's a village. Would you agree with that?
Totally.
Like it's never like just a single mom or a mom and a dad who get the job done.
Yeah. Yeah. It reminds me of that, like, I think it's no man, but it's to make it all inclusive. No person is an island, like just off to themselves, like everyone's like connected. And yeah, I mean, I'd be hard pressed in my life, just in my life in general, and then definitely in my recovery, to not point to like all these different people, from like just my peers in sober living to some guy that said something in a meeting at just the right day, at just the right time, in just the right way that it like hit me and made an idea that I otherwise didn't get like make sense to me. It's like that guy's as much a part of like my growth and me as a person in recovery is the sponsor who like poured hours and hours and days and weeks into me. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, I've yet to see it. Somebody who just got sober all by themselves in their apartment alone with no help and no guidance, no YouTube videos, no inspirational TikToks, like nothing. It just doesn't happen, man.
Yeah.
I just don't think that's how we're wired. We don't just get better or change in a vacuum. We do it like because of other people, and we do it with other people. And that's kind of the overall message, I feel like, of what we've been talking about, is that like people generally don't just go embark on all that by themselves without anyone else saying like, hey, it's time for a change. And then they definitely don't go make that change by themselves. They need other people. And so we just need people, man.
Yeah. That being said, someone at some point is going to comment on this video and be like, I did it alone in a studio apartment.
I got sober in my studio apartment. Screw AA, screw therapy. I did it all by myself. Just like, hey, man. And if you did, that's amazing. Good for you, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's not the norm of what I see. And of people that are happy, that are not so bent out of shape that they're leaving comments on a small YouTube channel like that, of just like, oh, I got sober by myself. Like, I'm talking about the kind of recovery where like that kind of thing would just glance off your shoulder if you did it a different way and it wouldn't bother you so much. So
Mhm.
maybe that's something to be said too,
For sure.
which is not everybody every day. I could be that guy writing a mean comment, you know, at different points in my life where I was like insecure about stuff and kind of threatened by a video that was saying something different.
Yeah. Gosh, well, yeah, we've certainly had that on some Facebook content. Get some comments on Facebook that are just like, and I have to remind myself of the same thing, but one that stands out to me not too long ago, someone commented on our video that had never been to our program, never had any experience, never no therapy, anything, but felt the need to comment on our video saying that like some other program that they did have experience with was the best. And by doing that, kind of knocking on ours.
I don't think they said the best. I think they said better.
Yeah, it's
Definitely,
better.
which makes
That's
a
right.
direct comparison of
They
like
did.
better than this one.
They did narc ours, even though having no experience with ours. And in my head, I was like, why would you do that? Like, I get it if you love this other program, why wouldn't you go to their Facebook and comment on one of their posts saying like how great that program is? Why would you go to this other program that you have no experience with just to say that some other program is better? That's just like spreading negativity.
Unless you, again, if you have like evidence and like good feedback or whatever, you know, because you've like looked into our program or you have a family member that did our program and you're like, hey, like these guys aren't great. They did this or they did that. Like, I mean, I would welcome that like accountability. But if you just don't know anything about us and you not liking us is like only based on you only liking one program in the whole world, and that if it's not that program, it's bad, then it's just like, I feel like there's so much flawed logic there that it's hard to even know where to start with that person. But also, I would just say, and it may sound kind of judgmental, that I just don't think a person that does that is like very well mentally, emotionally in their life. If
Yeah.
that's what you're directing your energy towards, and that you kind of can't see, like, why am I even doing this? Yeah, because to your point, like, you could do the flip side and only talk positively about a program that you do know, that you do have a family member that went through, that you believe in so much and that you love, and just like, guys, I can't say enough positive things about this program. If you're looking at these comments for this program that I love, like, let me just put the exclamation point on it that like this is the best.
Yeah.
Just crazy. But you give everybody a Facebook account in the world, and this is what happens.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I'm not saying they shouldn't be allowed to have one. I'm just saying this is the consequence of just anybody gets to talk anytime about anything they want. Boom, boom. There you go.
for sure. Yeah, you get to see that. And that's the point I was going to make is that then I think back, like there was a point in time in my life where I was doing stuff like that. Like
For
I
sure.
was that guy, high, drunk, whatever, on Facebook, making terrible comments, saying terrible things to people, like full of hate because I wasn't happy with where I was in life and the things that I was dealing with on a daily basis. So,
Yeah. Oh, and what's funny with that post too is I remember then we did have a dad of a guy who went through our program who like commented underneath it and was like, no, I know it like firsthand. My son threw in here, like this program's awesome. And then they were just like, how much did they pay you to say that? Like kind of type comments of like just totally discrediting him. And he's just like, again, didn't say anything bad about the program they were pushing, was just like, hey, no, like this is a really good program. My son went through it and he's doing really well today. I think he even listed like he's married, expecting his first child, has a great job, like 5 years sober, like all the good stuff. And they were just like, nope, not true.
yeah.
Can't be. You're getting, how much do they pay you to say it? It's just funny because it's like I actually know that all that stuff is true. I
Yeah.
know that guy. I know his dad. I know that like, so just to know all that's true and see somebody be like, oh, that's a paid lie is just
Discredit it.
wild.
Yeah.
So wild. Again, when you could wake up and do anything with your day, anything with your life, you could say anything to anyone, do anything, comment anything, just like what do you go choose to do with it? I'm
Mhm.
not always proud of what I choose to do, but I think it's something worth thinking about.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of side quests today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Few. I feel we stayed on topic pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, it's always like family stuff. And I tell you what, if people think that like all of this is like theoretical for us, it's really not. I always got stuff going on in my family somewhere with someone addiction stuff popping up, somewhere codependency stuff pop up. Like there's no shortage of examples in my own life where I have to kind of like live by the stuff that I preach to families. And I know it's the same thing for you or our friends' lives or whatever, where we're kind of getting not sucked in, but just kind of like asked to be in by somebody.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I don't know why I'm drawn to this saying right now, but a mentor told me very early on, and I've said it before, this saying, but and it was around me wanting to date and like include other people, bring other people into my life on an intimate level. And he was like, David, you're a sick guy. And I wasn't well yet. I had not had enough time into sobriety, into recovery to be well. So he said, well, David, you're a really sick person and you're going to attract sick people into your life. So like, let's spend the next 9 to 10 months. Let's get you healthy and you will attract healthier relationships. Um, and that has just stuck with me from like my second month in sobriety when he told me that of like, gosh, I just want to like keep trying to do better. Like keep trying to say, and I'm mess up all the time too, but it's a nice goal to have of like always try to do the next right thing, say the next right thing, the positive thing. And like I want to keep attracting those type of people into my life.
Mm-hmm.
Even though that doesn't always happen either.
Are these backwards or can you read them? Oh,
No, it's right.
oh it is?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
mine's backwards. Yeah,
Do better.
I have that written on my AirPods for that reason.
Yeah.
Which was funny because then my dad was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get some on mine too, but mine are going to say did better. And I was like, yeah, because you live in the past and I'm in the present.
Oh, no, I'm kidding.
Got him.
Cool. You want to wrap it up there?
Wrap it.
Sick.